Good evening, seekers after horror. Welcome to Explorers of Elsewhere, where we are doing a rather special game tonight because we're playing Call of Cthulhu. I think it's our first Call of Cthulhu game on the channel, which is really exciting. And I'm joined. My name's Matt. I'll be the Lorekeeper, or the Keeper of Arcane Lore, which is what the Games Master is called in Call of Cthulhu, not a Dungeon Master. And I'm joined tonight by some really special first-time investigators. If we go around, Julia, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi. I don't think it's that important. I introduce myself. The most important person is the little star here. Oh, she got shy. She just immediately leaves. That was Daisy. I'm Julia. I've never played Call of Cthulhu before. I'm very excited. Do you want me to introduce my character?
Not just yet. No, we'll
Not
come
yet.
to that.
Okay, that's for later.
Okay. Chris.
Hi, my name's Chris, and I'll be playing the part of Edith Jackson today at some point.
Great. Lane.
Hi, I'm Lane. I will be playing Ella Belgraves. Yeah, I mostly run Call of Cthulhu. I've not actually played it properly, so
Okay. Lovely.
I'm stepping into Investigator for the first time properly.
Okay, we'll try not to kill you off on your first time then.
That's what I'm here for.
Dan, you're
Hello.
sat in the wrong seat.
I am, yeah. I'm gonna have to get used to this real damn quick, I feel. Yes, hello. My name's DM Dan. I have a small tabletop RPG role-playing channel called Explorers of Elsewhere. You should go check it out. You should like and subscribe to all of their stuff. It's my first time playing Call of Cthulhu. We're popping that bubble together. And yeah, looking forward to it.
Great. And last but certainly not least, Tilda.
So, hi, I'm Tilda. I'm going to be playing Rosemary Everett. I have played Call of Cthulhu before about 6 years ago, and this is going to be my first game since I went on maternity leave.
Hey.
Great. It's good to have you back.
Nothing like the horror of childbirth to endear you to Cthulian Lovecraftian horror.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Well, we will, as Dan said, if you haven't already, this is a great chance to like and subscribe and comment if you want to see more Call of Cthulhu on the channel, which you obviously do because it's a great game. And you should do that before I manage to ruin it for you. So yeah, without further ado, we will get on with tonight's session. So welcome all of you investigators to the Roaring Twenties. It's actually the summer of 1929. The memories of the brutality of World War I are fading in the midst of an economic boom that is revitalizing America's economy. Herbert Hoover is in the White House. It's the age of jazz, flappers, prohibition, although that is now the federal government's war on liquor is starting to look like it's failed. And of course, organized crime is running rampant throughout the states, which may or may not become relevant later. We'll see. We find ourselves today in Boston, Massachusetts, in the sweltering summer of 1929. It's August, it's hot, and the five of you have had your daily routines interrupted by an unusual telegram from an old acquaintance or friend of yours called John Allen. John Allen, as you all know, is the director of exhibits at the Boston Museum of Fine Art. It's someone that you've perhaps known for a long time or maybe only met once or twice, but he's sent all of you an identical telegram, which reads thus. Dear friend, stop. Hope you will pardon intrusion. Stop. At wit's end and need immediate help. Stop. Will explain in person. Stop. Café du Vittoria, Wednesday, 2 p.m. Stop. And Wednesday comes and finds the five of you strangers to each other sitting around a table in Cafe di Vittoria, which is in Boston's less than salubrious North End. Historically, it's probably not an area that's, well, I don't know, possibly not an area that would be one of your regular haunts. Although it is an up-and-coming area, swollen by Italian immigration, and this is a brand new cafe that has opened to serve the population of the North End. And the five of you find yourselves sitting around a table in the hot summer sun, looking at your old friend John Allen, who is a balding man, probably in his late 50s, in a sharp grey suit. He's got a pinched, anxious expression. He looks tired, and there's kind of deep lines around his eyes, and he seems unable to kind of sit still in his cafe chair. But he thanks you all for coming, and after a waiter comes over, dressed in a pinstriped apron, ready to take your orders. So if I could have each of you describe your characters as we go around the table, what they look like, what we need to know about them, and what drink they order. And remember that this is Prohibition era, so alcohol is not on the menu. Julia, if we start with you, what does Jeffrey look like?
Yeah, Jeffrey Thornhill is a man in his mid-30s. He is dark-haired, relatively handsome, a good-looking chap, very charming. But there's a sort of slightly his sort of easygoing appearing manner has this sort of undercurrent of very slight skittishness. He's not quite as relaxed and easygoing as he comes across as. You get the impression this is a man who is fairly easily startled, but just generally quite a nice looking chap. He is a journalist by profession. So he has his waistcoat, he has his sort of notebook, and he has a camera as well that he carries with him.
And does Jeffrey work for any particular newspaper or organisation, or is he freelance?
I think he probably does work for a specific newspaper, one of the kind of broadsheets. Like, I don't know if there's something called the Boston Herald or something like that, something of that ilk.
Great. And what's Jeffrey having to drink?
Oh, he says, I'd like a coffee with milk, please, my good man. Thank you.
The waiter gives you a curt nod and then looks to the person to your left. Chris, would you like to introduce Edith for us?
You see a short, quite stocky, older woman. Edith is 54 years old, with quite a lived-in face. Let's put it that way. She's smoking the stub of a cigar, which is just kind of like fuming away. You rarely see this thing out of her mouth, and even if she's talking, she'll start talking, and then she'll remember that she can't talk with it in. Probably. She looks like she's been kind of in through all of the charity shops and bought one thing from each charity shop. Not that there are charity shops, but that's what she looks like. It looks like that she's found these clothes, and looks like that she's seen a fair few things in a time. You can see her like kind of fiddling through a notebook at the request of a coffee with milk. She kind of does little. That's it. That's all you hear from her. And she's like, "What do I want to drink? Mud, dear. Mud. Give me mud. You got mud?"
The waiter is a young Italian guy, and he kind of looks confused for a moment, and nods, and yeah, he's obviously just gonna sort of whatever mud means in Italian. That's what you're getting. Is the cigar ever lit, or is she just chomping on
the cigar's lit. It's kind of like just slowly smouldering away. It might go out every now and again, and then like it won't get relit for long periods of time. She won't really notice. It's a safety tool. It's a confidence builder.
Okay, great. The waiter rather hurriedly moves on to the person to your left, Edith. Lane, do you want to introduce Ella for us?
Yeah, so probably slightly bringing down the average height of the group. Ella is about 5'1", long red hair, very messily tied back up into a bun behind her head, prominent freckles on her face, but insanely like pronounced eye bags, like she hasn't slept in about 8 years. Wearing a not too formal dress, sort of a very relaxed, but has a suitcase and a leather glove on one hand. As the waiter turns to her, she goes, "Just a black coffee, darling. Not much from me."
He gives you an appreciative nod as he recognises what what he just thinks of as a sensible drink. And what does Ella do for work?
She doesn't work anymore. She used to be a nurse in World War One, and after what she saw, she's basically taking her wartime pension early.
Gotcha.
And is living off of that.
Okay. The waiter turns to your character, Dan. Would you like to describe Walter for us?
Yeah, so Walter is a very quite a large, stocky 46-year-old man of Korean this Korean heritage in him.
Mm-hmm.
He has sort of like graying patches of hair running through the sides of his temples, and he looks like he's kind of studying everyone with a bit of a like a bad smell face, peering through the little glasses propped on his nose, before he looks back to the menu and coffee, black, and then pulls out a little notepad, which he flips open, and he writes down the price of the coffee in this kind of ongoing accounts books that he carries with him, puts it back in his pocket. But then he kind of looks up at the Italian lad and gives him a knowing look, just in case they share some mutual acquaintances. And then sort of like leans back, crosses his legs, places a hand on the book that he's reading through at the moment. It's quite a detailed thesis on like Babylonian mythology and whatnot that he's been perusing through. Yeah, he's kind of looking around. He looks quite average, but he also looks quite well off.
Right. And have you told us what Walter does for a living?
So he's a librarian by day. He is an accountant for individuals of organized alternative employment by night.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Creative accounting.
Creative accounting. Yeah. Good stuff. Brilliant. And the waiter finally turns to you, Tilda. What does he see?
He sees a tall, dark-haired, middle-aged lady who is dressed very fashionably, but in fashion probably meant for someone a decade younger than she is. And she gives the impression of someone who used to be quite striking in her youth and is finding it difficult to let go of that image. She is chain smoking, by the way. So she's since she arrived, she had at least 2 cigarettes. And she looks at the waiter. A sparkling cider, if you would, my dear.
He looks slightly taken aback at the request for an alcoholic beverage, but he gives you a.
Cider is actually a soft cider in the US, which was specifically
Yep.
to look this up.
Great.
It's a non-alcoholic drink.
In that case, he nods, and John Allen. It's kind of, you're all sort of sitting in a fog of cigar and cigarette smoke between Rosemary and Edith's output, and John Allen picks up the menu and kind of anxiously waves a smoke-free cloud in front of his face before asking for black coffee himself, and the waiter scurries off back into the cafe to get your orders.
To interrupt, Matt, do you want me to also say what her occupation is, or?
Yes, please. Sorry, I interrupted.
And that's okay. So she would like to call herself an artist. She is not a very accomplished one. She mostly lives off her late husband's wealth, and occasionally helps John Allen and other people other people in the art circles to find forgeries. She has quite a good eye for detail.
Great. A very useful skill. Yeah. Once the waiter has disappeared, Alan turns to all of you and sighs, puts down the menu that he's been using to wave the smoke away. And, my friends, I'm grateful that you'd all join me here. As I said in my telegram, I'm somewhat at my wit's end. I hope you can all help. I appreciate that you've all come here not knowing each other, and it's good of you all to come. He slides something across the table to you as a group, and you can see that it is advertising an exhibition, a new exhibit that is opening at the museum this coming weekend on Saturday. It's a collection of works by the renowned and somewhat reclusive or eccentric artist Baudelaire is his name, and the exhibit is entitled Umbra and promises a voyage into the colour black, an exploration of the colour black in all its glory. And the flyer itself kind of reflects that. It's very dark and minimalist and quite moody. And Alan looks up at you all, gives you a chance to read it, and you've heard of him, of course. You certainly will have, Rosemary.
Yes, of course, I've heard of Baudelaire.
Is this what passes for art nowadays?
I don't. Well, I couldn't tell you, Walter. I haven't actually seen any of the stuff. He won't let me. It's partly why I'm so stressed out about it. He's well, you know what artists are like. They can be eccentric, difficult to work with, but Baudelaire's something different. He's changed the locks on his workshop, won't let anyone in, not even me, and refusing to let me see the pieces until opening night. It's a nightmare.
Do you think he's got himself into a spot of bother?
Well, I don't really know what to think. I mean, he part of me thinks he's just going to unveil a whole load of plain black canvases, and I don't need to tell you that the museum can't survive that kind of embarrassment. But part of me thinks
that
maybe
flyer, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, who knows what passes for modern art these days? Part of me worries it's
definitely not that.
Yeah, part of me worries it's some sort of insurance scam. I don't know. Maybe he's planning to have his work stolen and then sue the museum. I don't know. Anyway, I was hoping that the five of you could help me look into it before opening night. At least put my mind at ease that nothing bad's going to happen. If you're not too busy, of course.
Anything to help you. But I have to say, it's quite peculiar. You should really not stand for something like this. Like, you are, technically speaking, his boss.
Yeah, I know. And I wouldn't with just any other artist, but if this goes well, then Baudelaire's reputation has the potential to really enhance the museum's prestige, not just in the States, but abroad as well. I mean, there's no limits to where we could go from here if this is a success. So we need to make it work. And he might be difficult to work with, but can put up with that if that's all there is to it.
Honestly, Darrell, I'm just thinking this just sounds like a case of an artist being an artist. They're a bit funny with all their works, and
There is difference between artists and artists.
you're gonna have to run that by me one more time, hon. I don't understand. You just said the same word twice.
Oh, no. An artist and an artist. There is quite a difference.
You did it again, hon.
That sounds like a very artist thing to say.
Well, you might have heard of me. I did have a couple of paintings set up in the museum myself. Rosemary Everett? No?
Lovely pieces they were as well, Rosemary.
Good to see you again, Rosemary.
Oh, good to see you too, my darling.
It's been a while. You doing well, honey?
Oh, I'm doing great, thank you very much.
Good. Where's that drink?
At this point, the waiter comes back over, carrying rather precariously carrying a tray of drinks, and sets them all down before you in entirely the wrong places. He looks like he's quite harassed this morning. The cafe is doing a bustling trade with loads of people stopping in on their way to work or wherever it is they're going. So it's turned into quite the community hub in the North End. But he deposits your drinks in front of you and then bustles off again to the next table. And Alan turns to look at you all again, and I mean, there's more though. It's not just that he's being a bit odd. We've had some problems with the other staff since he moved in.
Lights?
Weird things. A couple of the night guards just quit all of a sudden. No, didn't even hand in their notice, no explanation, just disappeared during their shifts. Never heard from them, to return their uniforms or nothing. Happened a couple of times actually. And I asked Baudelaire about it, and he flew off the handle at me, went completely berserk. I mean, he's a bit of a roller coaster, but I've never seen him like that. So I'm really not sure what's going on, but he was furious. He's brought in all his own security now. I couldn't talk him out of it.
You say that if this whole thing goes to the dogs, then the museum shuts down. The reputation will be crippling. Who is it? The museum that's funding this artists' gallery?
Well, we're certainly making a tidy contribution, Walter, I can tell you that.
There are no other
bringing in all his own supplies and things like that, and he's hired the security out of his own pocket, but we're hosting it, and I can tell you that isn't cheap. I mean, he's asked that we keep the lights on all night. Goodness knows why, but he's refusing to let them be turned off.
May I ask, where is the art right now?
Well, as I say, he hasn't let me see it, but I think it's all in his workshop at the museum.
Okay.
He insisted on having a workshop on site that was for his own personal use.
And with his own personal security guarding it.
Yeah, that's right. Although most of them haven't come in yet, they're mostly due to come in on opening night. But you'll see one or two of them around if you come to the museum.
You know if he's had any callers at all? Just male, female? Any, let's see, interests?
From what I can tell, he's completely devoted to his work. Seems a real reclusive type. Spends all day in his workshop at the museum, and from what I can tell, spends all night at home. Not much of a chatter, though.
Probably turned himself into a eunuch, knowing artists. Yeah, wouldn't be the first one I've seen, honey.
I'll have to take your word for that, Edith.
Oh my, I'm glad I'm only sticking on the surface of this artist world. Y'all sound like an interesting bunch.
They certainly can be, that's for sure, honey. They certainly can be.
I can't offer you too much, but if you're able to get to the bottom of what's going on and put my fears to rest a bit before Saturday, I'd be really grateful to you all, and the museum would be happy to cover any expenses.
Oh, don't worry about it, darling. I would do this just for friendship.
No, I definitely want my expenses covered. Definitely.
Yes,
make
that's
it a
spoken
legit-
like a true socialite with lots of money in their bank account.
To make this business arrangement formal, there must be a financial exchange, an agreement, a firm and formal agreement.
You mean
Oh,
like a contract?
It seems that our good friend John here is in need of our help, and in exchange, he will pay us for our time. That seems like a wise and a wonderful decision. It's a civilized thing to do.
Oh, well, yeah, Walter, if you think that's strictly necessary, I suppose we could do it that way. I'd rather, this will be in confidence though, right? Obviously, if it were to get out that the museum was hiring investigators to look into one of their artists, that would create quite the scandal.
Well, I'm sure of all of the people in the world that you could have summoned here, myself excluded. I'm sure these four must be trustworthy enough.
Walter Walter looks around each of you, and John looks around each of you in turn, and yeah, well, I wouldn't have called you here otherwise, I suppose, if didn't think that. Sure. Well, you draw it all up, Walter, and send it to my office, and I'm happy to cover whatever you think's reasonable.
Marvelous. And I'll pick up the little cup of black coffee, 3 spoons of sugar.
So, is there anything else you need from me? Happy to help in any way I can.
Oh,
I think maybe just looking around first is going to be the best thing to do. If you have any questions, we'll just come back to you, my dear.
Of course, I'm at the museum all day, every day, pretty much. So you can pop in and see me whenever you need.
This reminds me, you really should go on a holiday after this. You look a bit tired, my dear.
Oh. Yeah, you sound like my wife. I think you might be right there.
Yeah. How is your wife anyway?
Yeah, sick of hearing about art. She'll be glad to get me away from that place, I can tell you.
I can imagine.
I'll let her know you asked.
such a shame you got married, John. Such a shame.
Why?
You're like, oh yeah, remember the good old days when we would go out drinking, all the three of us?
Indeed, yeah.
You are such
And
a
then-
heartbreaker.
John would maybe make his way home, and yeah.
It looks like he doesn't quite know. He opens his mouth a few times as if he's about to say something, and then just decides against it and sips his coffee. Well, if there's nothing else, I best be getting back. But yeah, my suggestion is that you start either at the museum, Baudelaire's workshop, possibly overnight. He's unlikely to be there, or during the day. Maybe you could visit his home, see if there's any information there. Those are my suggestions, but I'm sure you're all resourceful people. That's why I've asked you here, so I'm sure you'll come up with other ideas.
All these addresses, John. You hand them over, of course, honey. Yeah.
Oh yes, of course. And he takes out a little notebook from his pocket and scribbles down the address of Baudelaire's home, which is in another part of the city, and also the museum's address, and slides that along the table to you. As I say, if you need any expenses covered for taxis or anything like that, I'd be happy to do so. Just keep a track of what you're spending.
Edith sort of reaches down by the side of her chair that she's sitting in and pulls up like this massive carpet bag. This bag that looks like a carpet, and like opens it and pulls out several things, puts the bits of paper that you've given with the addresses and like stuffs them in there somewhere, and pulls out a little booklet and like makes a note. Thanks, John. Good to see you.
He doffs his hat to the five of you, finishes the last of his coffee, and then gets up and, with a final nod, walks off into the crowd towards the docks.
At this point, Edith will pick up whatever the darkest last one of the coffees are. She'll make some sort of judgment, depending upon how dark they are, and the one that looks the blackest is the one that she'll go for. That's just the way. That seemed great.
Holding my cup with two hands. Shoot, you're gone.
I mean, your cup is full of sugar. That's more sugar than coffee. I don't think she would go for that one.
Okay, so I mean, looking around the table, what's the time again? Sorry, is it like
So by now it's about 3 p.m. probably on Wednesday afternoon.
Okay.
So the exhibition's on Saturday, so you've got a few days to conduct your investigations and report back.
I mean, how far away from the museum are we?
Perhaps a couple of miles.
Okay.
Yeah, a fairly long walk, but you could get a taxi, get a cab.
What a novel idea! Paying someone to drive you.
Quick question.
Yeah.
Would Rosemary know how difficult it would be to get into Baudelaire's workroom in the museum during the daytime?
Well, from what Alan's told you, he's pretty much spends all day during the working hours holed up in there. So you'd think it would be pretty unlikely.
Does Rosemary know the museum well enough, because she's been there quite a lot, to think that she can either strong arm her way into the room, or if she knows a different way in, a backdoor, if you will?
I think she would probably think that it's unlikely you'd be able to get in while Baudelaire's there if he didn't want you to. And it sounds, from what Alan's told you, as if he's changed all the locks and he's kind of taken security measures to stop people doing just that.
Okay,
so yeah, you probably need to go when he's not there and either break in or see if you can find a key or.
Yeah, maybe we should save that for the night time, like he suggested.
Yeah, I think Rosemary will actually look at Jeffrey. Actually, like, you look like a very clever young man.
Oh, thank you.
I don't really want to presume or give you any suggestions, but maybe heading over to Baudelaire's house first would be a great idea.
Well, yes, I think that is a very good idea. The other thing that I was wondering was, would it be worth me checking in with Sandra at the Herald? She's our arts and culture correspondent. She may know a thing or two about this Baudelaire.
Inside information's good, honey. Do it.
Is that allowed, Lorekeeper?
Yeah, absolutely. You can go wherever you like.
Okay. I thought maybe I'd ask if I could use the cafe phone to give Sandra a ring at the office, because she should be there. I'm taking a long lunch, which is going to turn into a sick day. So, but I could give Sandra a call first before I start coughing.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay, but yeah, and then I think I would agree with Rosemary that hitting the house would be a good plan.
Okay, well, at your request, the waiter who served you earlier, you're able to make him understand that you want to use the phone, and he gestures through to near the bar,
Okay.
where
Yeah,
there's one of those old dial-up
Do I have
phones.
to put a coin in, or is it just?
No, it's plugged into the, but you just have to dial the number.
Okay, I'm gonna do
Well, that'd be
my.
operate, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yogurt
Yeah.
pop. Yeah.
Yeah, or the old rotary phone. Yeah, and I call Sandra.
Is Sandra your colleague, your receptionist?
She's a colleague. She's
Okay.
the arts and culture correspondent for the Herald.
Okay. After a few rings, Sandra, the familiar tones of Sandra, answers and goes, "Yeah, what do you want?"
Hey, Sandra, it's Jeffrey. Just sorry to bother you in the middle of the afternoon.
Oh, Jeffrey, how's lunch going?
Oh, it's very productive. That I'm meeting with a potential source for my next story. Anyway, I was just wondering, this Baudelaire fellow, you've heard of him?
As in the artist.
Yeah, that guy, the
Well,
eccentric, the one who has the exhibition this weekend.
yeah, I've heard of him.
What do you know?
Well, about the same as everyone else. He's not much. He's almost a total shut away from what I hear.
Hmm.
Completely. I mean, the public goes years without seeing him or hearing from him, and then all of a sudden he comes out of nowhere with some scandalous new exhibition. Which
So he's
completely.
provocative.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say, Jeffrey. Yeah.
Okay, and he's had successful exhibitions before. He's not a fraud. He produces real work.
Oh, I think there'd be some people in the field who'd say he's one of the finest artists the States have got, but I suppose it's a matter of taste. I mean, every time he's been banned from quite a few venues across the city. He's certainly controversial. His style's somewhat different.
Any notable rumors? Any previous scandals aside from the artwork itself? Any bad dealings that you know of?
He's actually pretty frustrating to try and report on, Jeffrey, to be honest, because can't get an interview with him and seems to have no personal life to speak of, so there's no gossip to report on. Don't know of any family, no flings, no friends.
Okay.
As I say,
right.
you barely ever see the guy.
Wow. The man barely leaves a print on the world besides his art. Interesting. Well, I'm going to the exhibition this weekend, so I was just interested in what you thought. But thank you, Sandra.
Hang on, how did you get that scoop? Surely I should be going. I haven't been able to get a ticket.
No, but sure, purely as an amateur enthusiast, you understand. No. I'm sure you didn't know about the exhibition.
Well, I knew about it, but I haven't been able to get a ticket. That thing's booked out.
Well,
months ago.
Looks like I'll be standing in for you, Sandra. Never mind, eh? Listen, if you have any specific questions for Baudelaire, I will happily ask them for you. Anyway, I feel a tickle coming on in the throat, so if you could just let the editor know I won't be in for the rest of the day. And he says, ta-ra, and puts the phone down.
She's in the midst of saying, hang on a minute, this is outrageous. And Sandra is not happy with the situation.
Nah, never mind, eh?
Yeah, that's going to be an awkward Monday morning meeting if you come back into work.
If I survive.
During this whole conversation, Edith would have turned to the accountant and said, "So you're keeping all the records, honey, right? You seem like a bookie type."
Well, yes, I'm somewhat of a bookworm. Yes, I work primarily down in. Well, I work in the Boston Library, but I have my own personal collection, and I foster other interests as well. Yes, they keep me well fed. Yes.
Good. Well, make sure you put a nice tip for the coffee. It's pretty good. It's not mud, but it's pretty good.
I mean, I look down at the mention of a tip. I actively sneer. They get paid enough for what they do.
You've never worked in a cafe, have you, honey?
Well, if it didn't pay well enough, then they wouldn't do it. That's the way I see it. But yes, Rosemary, Ms.
Most
Everett.
controversial thing that's going to get said this whole one shot. That's what's going to get us the hate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like all service workers everywhere just go like, no.
I mean, yeah, Rosemary's gonna leave enough tip for everyone, so it's fine.
Yeah, it's fine. Let me get it's okay. Just shirk responsibility and someone else picks up the slack. Ms. Everett, Rosemary,
Yes, my dear.
you're an artist, so perhaps you would be able to answer this for us. But these exhibitions, and I pick up the leaflet, presumably still on the table.
John's left it for you.
Talking about a whole exhibition about black. Is that normal? Is that something that normally happens? I mean, it sounds preposterous, but
It is a bit peculiar, I'm not going to lie. Everyone has a moment when they want to do something different. So unusual themes are not that surprising, especially for a well-established artist, but a pure black exhibition is risky, for a lack of a better term.
have there been other artists that have attempted similar things in the past?
That's a very good question. Lord Master, do I know if there has been anything else like this before?
Well, I tell you what, this feels like a great opportunity to try out that dice roll that we've got.
Mhm.
So,
Let's roll.
Rosemary, if you could roll me a art check,
Art.
that would be great. Just a standard one, please.
Okay. where is
Standard
my-
art check.
And if you can tell me
okay,
whether it's a...
Would you allow... Okay, no, this needs to be art. It can't be forgery, can it?
I think probably not in this case.
No, okay.
But because this is your... I guess this is kind of your bag, because it's painting specifically, isn't it? You do.
Yes.
So I'll give you a bonus dice, effectively, advantage.
Thank
You can
very
pick the
much.
highest.
That's appreciated. And it is... God, is it a D10 or D100 we roll for this?
D100, yeah.
D100.
D100, yes. Okay. And a bonus, do you say?
E.
That's way above.
I mean, you want
Okay.
to pick the 8, right?
But 8 is
Yeah, I'm
8 is
picking-
not
I'm
right.
picking the 8. If that's okay.
Great. So that would be an extreme success, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Ooh.
Wow. Good start. Okay, so Rosemary, as you are a semi-proficient painter yourself, and you follow the art world pretty closely, and you have some familiarity with Baudelaire specifically, you know that he is a proponent of what, well, other people have given him this name, critics and the like, have described his style as dynamic realism, which is kind of, it's not impressionism, so it's not kind of like weird abstract shapes, but it's not quite just trying to capture reality as it is, like a still life, for example, without any kind of embellishment. And instead, Baudelaire something about his style tries to draw you into the scene, so that it's almost kind of alive or 3D. That's the idea of dynamic realism, and he's considered one of the masters of it, really. So that's what he's best known for. His previous exhibitions have been along those lines. Fairly scandalous scenes on canvas that it makes you feel like you're there and kind of being drawn into it, which is why people have such strong emotional reactions to his work. They either think it's the best thing ever or they're kind of horrified by it.
Which would make this whole all black thing even more mystifying, because it's hard to imagine a dynamic realism being portrayed by just black.
Yeah, it strikes you as quite odd. Yeah, it's a bit of a departure from his usual style.
Interesting.
And
Do
there was
sorry.
nothing like this before. Sorry, Dan. And there's
No problem.
nothing like this before.
From other artists, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. No, nothing of this kind, and that's kind of what's being said on the flyer, is that this is a groundbreaking world first event. I mean, plenty of modern art is still a bit on the fringes of what we would think of as modern art. So, yeah, nothing quite like this has been attempted at such a high level in the art world.
From my connections, would I know, is Baudel's name known to me from a sort of like a mob perspective? Is he someone that the mob has had an eye on, or has had dealings with him, or he has dealt with? Or is he relative? Is he a new name to me? Because I mean, the art world is utterly alien to me.
Yeah. I don't think so. No, there's nothing you've heard of. I mean, I don't know kind of what level you are at in the mob in terms of how much you get told about stuff that doesn't directly concern you, but no, you've not heard his name mentioned before in connection with your other job.
Okay. Interesting. This Baudelaire, is he the sort of person that is he famous enough that he would have been written about?
Definitely, yes.
In academic journals? Real writing?
So.
I see. Okay.
Academic journals, newspaper, books, everything. He's very, very famous. He's very well known. A bit overrated if you ask me, but very well known.
Okay, well, I'm certainly interested in doing some research of my own. Where are we planning on rendezvousing first?
I mean, quite frankly, it sounds like we should just break in his house.
Are we planning on hiring someone to do that, or are we? You
don't want to knock first, honey.
I looked at Edith.
I mean, I've got skills, but try knock him first, you know.
Well,
he ain't gonna be there.
Somebody might be there.
His wife, his lover. Who knows with these people?
He has no. Oh, sorry, Julia. What was I saying?
No, yeah. If Rosemary starts saying that, Jeffrey will just start nodding along because he learned that from Sandra as well. That this guy's a complete recluse, doesn't really have anyone in his life that is known of publicly.
But if he's not at his home at night, then where is he? If he's there's no gossip about him. He's not out sneaking cheeky whiskies round the back of tool sheds.
So Alan told you that he spends basically all day in his workshop at the museum, and then at night he goes home, as far as Alan knows.
Sure.
So he suggested that you kind of...
So we've got a couple of hours window, probably.
Yeah, to visit his home, if he wants to do that today.
Yeah.
I reckon we should get there, see if there is anyone around. You can potentially try to... Yeah, we can try to get in by legal means, and if it doesn't work, we can try another suggestion.
Yep.
I'm sure
Okay.
we are
Sounds
all
good.
very good at breaking and entering.
I mean, there isn't really a skill for breaking and entering.
Lockpicking.
Although you locksmith, I guess.
Locksmith.
Climb if you want to get in via the chimney.
I'm 54.
Yeah.
I
You can
mean,
always
my climb
headbutt
is
your way in.
standard
So,
20%. So.
If it's about 3-ish, how far are we from his house, and how far is the museum from his house, so we have an idea of how much time we'd have?
Yeah. So you have a look at the address that Alan gave you, and you think, have you brought your car, Walter? Are you
Yes.
driving? Okay.
Yes.
So if you're driving...
recently polished, I might add.
Okay. And what does Walter drive?
Well, it's good of you to ask. It's new. Yes. It's a 1920, obviously.
It's
Alfa
black,
Romeo,
probably.
the 6C7550 Super Sport.
Nice. Yeah.
Yes. I'm hearing good things about it. What time of the year is it?
August.
August.
Summer. I wrote down.
It is hot.
It is hot August. So, depending on when this race happens, I will either boast that this car looks like it could win a massive race, or has won a massive race. Yes, it's. I'll tell you what. Just imagine. Once upon a time, we thought that if we went over 30 miles an hour, the skin would come off our faces. Well, I'll tell you, 60 miles an hour. Woo!
So if you're driving, Walter, you think that you've probably, if you leave now, you've probably got time to get to Baudelaire's home, which is a reasonably short distance away, provided you don't hit traffic.
Sure.
And
So
you'd have
I'll
probably an hour
drive
or
and the
two
four of
there.
you get cabs.
Edith was
Right,
ready to get
I
a
see
cab.
how you see us. All right.
Edith will kind of like hold her hand up to kind of like get the attention of the waiter. Go, hey, hey. And as soon as the waiter like pays attention, it's like, you get us a cab, honey.
He gives you a nod and runs out into the street to try and flag one down.
Could I argue that? Wait, what is my credit rating? What's it called? It's the accounting that counts for wealth, right?
Credit rating is
Credit
your
rating.
personal wealth. Yeah.
There's 70 accounting. Can I argue I have a big enough car and a driver that could get us there if Walter drives?
Is this your credit rating, Tilda?
It's the. Oh yeah, that's not going to be high enough. That's 46.
Okay. Yeah, 46 is kind of like an average. I mean, you'd probably be on the upper end of average, I guess, without being truly wealthy. So yeah, you could possibly have access to a vehicle if you wanted one.
Well, obviously, I mean, it's a two-seater, you understand, and I'd offer to give one of you a lift, but then
Oh, good. I'm coming with you then.
But then I'd have nowhere to put my coat, so a cab for the four of you.
I'll hold the coat
and I'll
put it
meet
on
you
my
there.
lap.
Unfortunately, it really disbalances the balance differential. So, it was good to meet you. If you see the red flash, that'll be me. I'll see you there.
As Walter gets out of his chair and heads towards his car, you see that the waiter is
notably before the bill has been paid.
Yeah. The waiter is frantically gesturing at you from the sidewalk. He seems to have flagged down a car that is going your way.
Edith will kind of very crutchily get up and pick up her cane and sort of like use it to sort of like start making her way towards the door. Somebody pay the man. I'm a bit short, but and that's not a height joke. It's I'm literally short and short. So let's go.
Is this going to devolve into a Bagsy not it?
Can we just say the bill is paid? One
Is
way or
anyone
another?
paying the bill?
Yeah, I'll do
Yeah,
it.
yeah. Like I think Ella, Rosemary, and Jeffrey are ponying up for Walter and
Yeah.
Edith. And John.
Yeah. Keep the receipt, you'll hear. As she walks away, like hobbles away out the door.
Always the rich bastards work the stingiest.
Well, you don't get rich spending it on coffee. That's
Edith's credit rating, just for FYI, is 17. So she's not rich by any means, which is why she
Not
looks like she's been
rich.
pulled through several charity shops. Just FYI.
So, with that, the five of you take your separate modes of transportation to Baudelaire's home address. The taxi deposits the four of you. Walter is already kind of there, parked up. and you all stand on the sidewalk together, looking at a really quite imposing Revolutionary War era house. It's a standalone house set back from the road somewhat, with quite a nice garden around it, although the garden looks to have been long neglected and not sort of kept up. The grass is quite long, and there's a willow tree that is looking a bit decrepit and hanging over the path towards the house. The house itself seems to be in somewhat of a state of disrepair as well. Some of the gables that hang over the doors are cracked. Several of the windows look like they need new shutters. It's not kind of a complete ruin. It's clearly still occupied, but it's lying quiet and still, and you can't see anyone around.
You didn't say that there was a gate or anything, Matt. So I guess we just can just walk up.
Yeah, there's no gate keeping you out of the garden. There's an imposing set of oak doors leading into the house, which are shut.
Is it like looking around? Like, how affluent does the neighborhood look?
I don't think I need to roll for that. I mean, it looks like the houses here are reasonably large, and they look like they were quite expensive if they're kept in good condition. And you can see that most of Baudelaire's neighbours do seem to be much more house proud than he is. But your vibe from the neighbourhood is that it's very quiet, and it seems to be occupied by people who kind of want their privacy, their space. So there's not. It's kind of a little bit away from the main city centre and the hustle and bustle. And there doesn't seem to be many people walking around or chatting on the street. But yes, fairly affluent. You've certainly seen worse, Walter.
Is there a doorbell?
There's a large iron knocker.
Cool. Can we knock?
Yeah. There's the dull thud and a moment of silence, and you can hear a shuffling sound after a moment or two on the other side of the door, and it's kind of pulled open slowly, and a older man stands staring at you.
We probably should have talked strategy before we knocked.
No.
We will adopt a very 1920s catchphrase. YOLO!
This older man who's slightly overweight, but with a good posture, pulls himself up and looks down his nose at the five of you. You can see that he's holding a silver tray with a cloth on it, and he leans in and goes, "Can I be of assistance?"
I feel like either Jeffrey or Rosemary is gonna put their most charming face forward at this point.
I think Rosemary is probably going to try, but gives you a look to back her up.
Play along, yeah, sure.
Good afternoon, my dear man. We are here to see Mr. Baudelaire. He is expecting us. Mm-hmm. I'm afraid we are a bit early. For a change, traffic has been delightful.
I think there must be some mistake. Mr. Baudelaire does not receive visitors, and he would have informed me had he invited some over. Perhaps you have got the wrong house?
No, and is this, and I confirm the address?
That's correct.
In that case, no, there is no mistake. This is about the exhibition. We are supposed to be here to help him with a sensitive matter. Can I argue for a persuade for you?
Yes, I think so. You can. Yeah, I think it would be persuade probably. I'm going to say it's a hard one.
Okay.
Because Baudelaire does not get many visitors.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine.
So is that like the half?
So a half, yeah.
Ooh!
So that's a 10.
Ooh!
75. Persuade.
Great. So that's presumably a hard success, is it?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Okay.
Way to go, Tilda.
He
I'm just used to it.
the butler raises his eyebrows. This is irregular, but if you are here at Mr. Baudelaire's invitation, then of course, follow me. And he allows you into the house, and you can see that it's very dark inside. The wallpaper is quite dated, and there don't seem to be a couple of lamps have been lit, but they're burning quite low, and the house smells kind of musty and like there's not a lot of fresh air gets in here. There's lots of very dark wood and kind of oak paneling and that sort of thing. Did Mr. Baudelaire tell you what time he expected to be home?
I'm afraid we are quite early. I think not for the next 2 hours. But he did he say that we can, if you're early, we can just sit and wait for him here?
Well, of course. So he leads you down a corridor, and you can see at the end of the corridor there is a doorway that is kind of slightly a doorway at the end of the corridor. But Mr. Wilkes, he introduced himself as Mr. Wilkes. He takes you off and drops you off in a room to the right, which serves as a kind of lounge. There's a fireplace. There's no fire in the grate because of the heat. But he gestures to some tired-looking armchairs, and perhaps you would care for refreshments while you wait.
That would be amazing. Yes, please. A coffee, if you will.
2 coffees.
3 coffees, 3 sugars.
That's 3 sugars in the third coffee, not 1 sugar in each of the 3.
Thank you for clarifying.
Oh, you're welcome.
Whiskey, neat, if you've got it. But if not, coffee.
Just walk into someone's home and ask for prohibited substances.
He's an
Now
artist.
it ain't illegal for personal use, darling.
Ella, what are you asking Mr. Wilkes for?
None for me, thanks.
He nods gravely and turns around and slowly shuffles off. You get the impression that Mr. Wilkes doesn't smile a lot. His face seems to be set in a kind of somber scowl. But you can hear him. There's some sounds of like chinks and glasses being pulled out of a cupboard from somewhere down the hall, and you're left alone in this lounge.
Edith is gonna go and be nosy. I'm gonna just like have a look at like she'll get up and she'll like just start pottering around the lounge, just kind of like looking at things, maybe like if there's like a mantelpiece, just seeing if something hasn't been moved for a really long period of time, checking behind a painting just in case, looking for anything that is kind of suspicious to her as an occultist, just anything that kind of looks like it might be dark in the sense of summoning.
Okay, you're looking for pentagrams on the
Basically,
walls.
Yeah, I will be kind of doing the same, but from a not so suspicious getting up and walking around and moving shit.
So what both of you notice probably is that there isn't a lot in this room at all, other than the armchairs that you're sat in. There's a clock on the mantelpiece above the fire, which is ticking away. A little bit of dust, but it's not kind of. The room's relatively clean. Seems that Wilkes at least takes care of the inside of the house to a certain degree. But yeah, there's no books. There's no kind of real ornaments. Nothing that suggests that Baudelaire entertains at all in this room, or spends indeed any real time in here himself, which perhaps leads you to think that this isn't his main living space, and this is kind of a public space, but not one that he spends a great deal of time in, unless he just likes sitting in a chair doing nothing.
Did I see any books on the way through the house to this lounge?
All you've seen so far, as you came in, there was a staircase going up to the upper floor on your left. Directly ahead of you, there was a closed door, and then there's the lounge that you're in now. And then off to the left was the kitchen, presumably where Mr. Wilkes is now preparing your drinks.
Okay. I mean, I'm shook that a person with money doesn't have books. I'm going to, like, whilst the two of them go rummaging around looking for bone circles, I'm going to, like, I'll give Jeffrey the I've got a cunning plan wink, and I'm going to stand up, straighten the waistcoat, stride to the doorway, peer around, and can I see Wilkes?
You can kind of see him in and out. He's in the kitchen off to your left. He's got his back to you, kind of moving quite slowly, and there's the whistle of a kettle that's being boiled, but he doesn't seem to be watching you.
My good man, apologies. It was quite a long journey. Could you point me in the direction to the lavatories?
Yeah, he sort of gestures, of course, and gestures down the corridor. There's next to the closed door at the end, there's a little water closet off to the side, set into the stairs, effectively.
Okay. That door, is that still in line of sight of him?
No, you'd be sort of blocked by the staircase.
Okay. In which case I'll lean back because I yelled that out loud enough. Well, I said that out loud enough that everyone could hear. And I give Jeffrey a do I do it? Look.
I mean, sorry, this is out of character. Do what exactly?
just go for a little wander.
I was thinking, I kind of stop you and I explain. I was thinking perhaps I try and charm the butler into giving us a tour.
Okay.
Which would then allow us to look around with him thinking he's in control of it all, but then it'll be hard for him to keep track of all 5 of us. If we want to sort of check things out in different rooms.
That is a fantastic idea. In which case, I will just go for a piss. And I will actually go and use the lavatory.
Okay.
You're genuinely going to do that. Okay.
And that's where you see the cult summoning signal.
Yeah.
Oh, the toilet appears to be a skull.
You open the bathroom door and tentacles.
Yeah. So Wilkes, while you're gone, Walter, Wilkes comes back and brings the tray of drinks, leaves it on a low coffee table in front of you. And will there be anything else? I have duties to which I must attend.
I say, my good fellow, just before you go, this is such a beautiful house, and Baudelaire is such our good friend Baudelaire is an artist of such wonderful reputation and taste. I was wondering, could we trouble you for just a brief tour of some of the public areas of the house?
I don't see why not, as long as you understand that there are areas that are off limits.
Oh,
Mr. Baudelaire's
of course.
study, of course, is never open to visitors.
Absolutely. Oh, wouldn't dream of setting foot in there. No, of course.
Well, if you would like to bring your drinks up, you may follow me.
Did Edith
I'll
get
stay
her
here
whiskey?
and
Sorry, Lynn.
He did bring your whiskey, yes.
Ooh.
Sorry, Lane. Carry on.
she'd like as everyone starts to get up and take their drinks. Go, I'll let Mr. Wynn know where to go. I'll come catch up.
Very well. And he leads Jeffrey and Rosemary and Edith on a extremely tedious tour of this house, telling you its
Joyful.
long history dating all the way back to the Revolutionary War, where it served as a garrison point at one point for colonial troops. But his tone of voice does not change, his speed does not change. It's kind of like a history textbook is being read at you with absolutely zero enthusiasm.
Nice.
And he leads you around the various dark, unlived-in looking rooms, one by one.
From the tour, from the kind of layout of the house and the doors that he doesn't take us through, is it fairly obvious where the study is?
So,
the private study.
Yeah, you notice that he bypasses completely the door at the end of the corridor next to the water closet. He does all the other rooms downstairs, and then leads you upstairs just as Walter is coming out of the water closet, but does not even sort of explain what that room is.
Okay, yeah. I think when the butler's back is turned, I'm gonna nudge Walter and kind of gesture towards the study door.
In which case, if I emerge, sort of like as they're, well, was it when they were going upstairs that?
Yeah, so they would have been following Mr. Wilkes upstairs, and I guess Jeffrey would have leaned over and gone, you know, and then they kind of disappear upstairs, and you can hear them creaking about.
Sure. Alo, you in like the doorway of the lounge?
Yeah, I'll just be waiting. I'll be like waiting for you, and like as they're like leaving off and disappearing, I'll be like,
Okay.
wait.
Okay. Well, this has never failed so far, and I will. Well, I go to whistle, then remember I'm being sneaky, and I will lumber over to the study door and, like innocently, as if I'm looking around as I'm not doing anything, and try the handle.
It opens.
Works every time.
Seems that Baudelaire was so confident of not having any visitors that he didn't bother locking it.
Okay, I stumble
and the
slightly.
door, the door, creaks open, and you're looking at two of you are looking at what is clearly a study or a library, perhaps a mix.
Finally, the library Walter has been craving.
I can now ascend to my final form.
A deep sense of relief enters your soul.
There is a very cluttered desk over in against one wall. So it's basically lots of bookshelves covering most of the walls. One of the walls kind of taken up by this large mahogany desk, which is just covered in more books and papers of various kinds. And then there's a couple of reading chairs by the window.
Be quick. I'm gonna keep listening out.
There is no
Try to
organisation.
pinpoint where they are. Be quick.
Okay.
If it helps, Edith is going to keep Mr. Wilkes talking and just like talk to him about like how long has he worked for him. How long you worked for him, honey? Tell us all about you. You seem like a fascinating person.
Mr. Wilkes does not seem like a fascinating person, and he proves that by telling you in excruciating detail how his father's father worked for Mr. Baudelaire's father's father, and they've kind of continued that family tradition.
This is great.
Proud tradition of being a manservant to the Baudelaires.
Okay, so quick glance books, I feel like I'm slightly in my element now. The books on the shelves, do they look like they are regularly referenced in comparison to the piled books on the desks? Like, is there a space in this area that looks like he works at it more often than not? Because at the moment it looks like a bit like a dumping ground.
Oh, tell you what, give me a library use roll.
Ooh. Is that good for you?
It's almost like you're made for that skill there.
Oh, don't roll high. Oh, whoops.
Oh,
Okay.
Oopsie.
So,
Too
it's not-
excited at all the books.
yeah, it's not maybe immediately. You're slightly aggrieved, Walter, because this bookshelf does not have anywhere near the correct ordering system that you would
There's no
choose
Oxford
to have.
ordering system here.
No, it's an absolute like carnage of not in alphabetical order. It's not sorted by author. The only pattern you can kind of discern is there are kind of rough subject areas. Certain shelves devoted to certain subjects, but that's about as far as it goes. It's not even color coded. It's terrible.
Artist.
Yeah, it's chaos.
stop sorting the goddamn shelves. Keep looking.
You're not able to tell kind of which are the most regularly looked at with that role, but you do discern kind of some broad themes or areas that Baudelaire seems to be particularly interested in. So there's art, no surprises there. He's got lots of books about art. Perhaps somewhat more surprisingly, there's quite a healthy section on geology and other earth sciences, chemistry and physics particularly. And then towards the top, on one of the upper shelves, there's a small section of very much older looking books in dark bindings of black, grey and brown. They look much more tattered. Most of the other books look quite expensive and sort of fairly like they've been freshly bought almost. But these ones look kind of very old and second-hand, third-hand. And they seem to have obscure titles in Latin and other languages that you, mostly non-English.
Okay. If I may, because I am surprisingly large, could I, as I reach up to grab one of those tatty books on the top shelf, because I know a tatty covered book means it's probably worth more money, but I'd also like to glance at the titles on the spines of like the geology and like the sciences thing. I've got some points in science, maybe some of the names at a glance means things to me. They might be words that just mean nothing.
While he's doing that, I'd like to look at the more tattered ones and see if I know anything weird about them.
Sure. Okay. Well, I tell you what, Walter, if you give me a science roll, and Ella, if you give me a occult roll. Please.
Oh, you shouldn't have.
Oh, Walter, books are not your friend.
Oh
boy. That's nearly a fatal paper cut there, Elaine.
I have a cult above 50, so no, it's not.
You find a copy of The Great Gatsby, and you're like, "What's this?"
Yeah, they've all just been rebound in scary-looking covers, but it's just like Mr. Men.
This is dirty book shelf.
Yeah. So, Walter, as you scan the more sciencey-looking side of things, the geology books are all about minerals of various kinds. That much you gather. The properties of various minerals and their uses in art, in science, those sorts of things. The other science books are remarkably focused on the nature of light and shadow, and so yeah, there's lots of books about how exactly light works. ranging from kind of the highly technical sciencey books to kind of more poetic or even mystical explorations of light.
Okay.
Ella, as you pull down one of a small black book from the top shelf, do you read Latin at all?
I do not.
Okay. Well, it's inscribed ante lucem. You can tell that it's in Latin, probably, but you flick it open and see that it's densely packed, but there doesn't seem to be. You don't understand it. But it kind of, it seems to be handwritten and very, very old. The pages are yellow, and some of them kind of threaten to fall out as you open it, and you have to kind of cradle it a bit more carefully than you were.
Careful.
It's an old book.
Yes, it's the utmost of care.
All right.
I mean, all these books, like this is just a pandemonium. Are there any like journal-like books that I can see on a desk or something that it looks like he might be actively writing in?
So as you go over to the desk, there's just papers all over it of various kinds. A lot of them look like they're fairly mundane or to do with organising the exhibition, so some correspondence around that. There is strikingly an open book on there's a drawer in the desk, and you sort of try it and it seems to be locked. But so open on the desk is a copy of the Bible, and it seems to be open at Genesis 1, so right at the start. And you can see that page has been heavily annotated.
Okay. Just took a book, that one there. Is it just the first page that's annotated, or just like flicking?
Yes, the rest of the book doesn't seem to have been marked at all, but the first page is heavily annotated, and particularly there's sort of two phrases that particularly catch your eye. So where it says, in the beginning the earth was formless and empty, and darkness was over the surface of the deep, that is heavily underlined. And then a bit later on in the text it says, and God said, let there be light, and there was light, and that is angrily almost circled in red. And
Oh gosh.
You don't
the
like that.
word scrawled in the margins next to that phrase, the word aberration is written.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Wow.
Oh, that's a take to have. That's a new angle. Okay. The footsteps overhead, are they slowly?
So
I've
upstairs,
been specifically listening out for like when stuff's getting closer, so we know when to leave.
upstairs, Mr. Wilkes turns to the three of you, Rosemary, Jeffrey, and Edith, and he breaks off mid-sentence talking about how his one of his ancestors served with George Washington at Yorktown. What am I thinking of? Your friends, they are they well? Should we check on them?
Oh, Walter has stomach problems.
Well, he wouldn't want to miss the tour, would he? We can go and get him, and I could restart.
Oh, you really don't want to disturb him when he's in the bathroom having problems.
Oh God.
Oh, and what about your other friend?
She's a nurse.
I see. Well, perhaps we ought to check on them. And he just sort of makes a move towards the stairs.
Probably
Wait.
hear this.
Why don't I go and grab our friend, and we can join you here. We can continue the tour, so no one is missing out.
Splendid idea.
Yes, very well. We're nearly done, so I will need to repeat most of the information, but
Maybe
that
we have plenty of time.
Yeah.
Make everybody
Right.
stand through it all again.
As you head downstairs, Rosemary, you take a look at your timepiece, and you note that it is now kind of 4:30, possibly getting on for 5 o'clock. So if you want to be out of here before Baudelaire returns, you're not sure what time he clocks off for the day, but it's going to get increasingly risky to stay much longer.
Okay, can I check on Walter and Ella?
Yeah, so you make your way through to the study. They've kind of left the door ajar. Ella sort of pops her head out as you approach because she's been listening. Tells you to be quiet. But yeah, you enter into the study and see Walter bent over the desk, looking puzzled.
We do have to hurry, my friends. Any progress?
I mean, I don't understand how any sane human being could operate in a space like this.
Any progress on the actual problem we are here for?
Oh, right.
There's some old weird books on the top shelf in Latin or something like that.
Okay.
I don't know much aside from that. I ain't the most learned.
Right, so not a lot.
Ella, have you been continuing to go through the books on the top shelf?
Maybe one more, like one or two more.
Yeah. Okay.
But after the first one, I seen there in Latin. I'm like, oh well, these are gonna be in fucking Latin, so I ain't gonna bother.
So you pull a few more. You pull a few more down, and yeah, there's a range of languages. One seems to be in a kind of scratchy script that doesn't resemble letters at all. You're not quite sure what that is. Another's in sort of a geometric kind of patterns that go all over the page. A couple are in German. But finally, almost the last one you pull down before you give up seems to be written in English. So it's an English translation of a Latin text, and it's entitled "The Thirst Gods" by somebody called Alfred the Mad.
Ooh,
Good name.
It's always a good
It's
sign.
about the only one that I can make head nor tail of, and I've been looking up this stuff for a while now.
Well, let's just take it with us. I don't think we've got time to read through it now.
Yeah. Okay, and now we just need to somehow get out of here. Without continuing the absolutely dreadful tour.
I'm gonna put that in my briefcase, that book in my briefcase, and keep going.
Ella,
Head out.
if you would be so dear and come with me, and Rosemary's going to link her arms with Ella and lead her upstairs to where the others are.
Right.
Walter, as you watch them go, your eyes fall again on the locked drawer in the desk.
Sure. Presumably there's no key in immediate eyesight.
Not that you can see.
Key is Walter's meaty fist. Good tug.
I feel like
to do it.
Walter's probably got the meaty fists, but he's got pencil arms attaching them to his body. He's
I
like,
thought you had good strength. Or is it just size?
I've got good girth. That's what I've got.
I thought you were a beefcake.
I am, for a physical presence. I'm like a walking mountain of jelly. Right, I'm gonna. Okay, I've seen some of my clients do this, so I'll just do a little. I'll just try and pull on it. See if I can pull it with enough sudden force that it just like bends whatever lock is inside.
Yeah, okay. I guess that will just be a strength.
Yeah?
Strength check. The desk is quite old, so we'll just make it a normal one.
Sure. Watch and learn, everyone.
No.
Hey!
What?
Let's go!
Yes!
Librarian can't do books, but can do physical violence.
That's a 35 strength, everyone.
Ooh, nice. Very nice.
Lovely. Okay, so there's a louder than you would like
Uh-oh.
sound as you like basically pull this drawer almost clear of the desk, and it clatters to the floor. And upstairs, Mr. Wilkes turns around and goes. He leans into you, Jeffrey. He really is unwell, isn't he?
He really is.
I'm going to have to clean that, you know.
I'm sure Walter will do his best to clean up after himself, but you may well have to give it the final polish, yes.
Edith will interject that. He tries not to get any on the walls, honey, but you should be fine.
It's lactose intolerance. It's a killer.
Walter, you look down at the remains of the drawer and you can see there's a leather-bound notebook of some kind in it.
Okay.
Ching!
I mean,
Seems to be a journal.
Talk.
That's in a locked drawer, so I will. Oh, bloody hells! And just kind of try to jam the drawer back in. Oh no! I've never actually done this before. Oh please! And then I'll just pop the journal in with my accounting book.
Sure. Yeah.
And then. And then I'll realise that my plan is not foolproof. I'll very quickly look for a book in the room that's got a similar binding, like a similar cover, and chuck that in the drawer instead.
Clever.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, there's.
That will buy you at least 10 seconds.
Yes.
When we're not even in the house.
Foolproof.
Yeah. You quickly try and scan the shelves for one that looks most similar. Chuck it in the drawer and then ram the drawer back into its groove.
Because when he realises that he's put his journal on the shelves, he's going to be there for weeks with this ordering system.
Meanwhile, Mr. Wilkes, I'm guessing you guys upstairs. What's your exit strategy here?
You had an idea?
I feel as if it's not going to be easy without arousing his suspicion, and then he's going to tell Baudelaire if we just disappear when we said we were meeting him. So I feel as if we have to contrive some convincing reason why we've been called away. Right, okay. Ella, we're going to need Ella to say that Walter is in dire need of the hospital or something.
My insides have become outsides.
Why Jeffrey is saying that to Ella, who I just basically pass on as we come upstairs, I think Rosemary is going to lean over to Edith and say, Edith, my dear, we might need a distraction.
Distractions I can do. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's plan B, remember.
Yeah. I have so many ideas in my head, and all of them are wrong. So.
So I'm guessing Ella says something to Mr. Wilkes.
Yeah, I think she's gonna go. No, some of them noises that Mr. Wynn's making are, that ain't good. I seen some of that on the front lines. I'm gonna go check on him, and I'm gonna clean up some of the blood while I'm there.
Hang on, there's blood. What?
With some of them noises that man's making, there's gonna be blood.
Yeah,
I'll go clean it up so you don't have to do the worst of it.
Okay, all right. Very well. I'll pop into the kitchen and fetch Mr. Wynn some hot towels.
Cold.
Don't need more than
Cold
that.
towels. Yeah.
This poor man.
I love how
This poor
Lovecraftian
man.
horror can be defeated by toilet humour.
He starts
Humour, Dan,
making
this is serious.
he starts making his way downstairs to back towards the kitchen.
Oh no.
At this point,
Oh.
Edith will kind of very loudly be trying to chat this guy up, basically.
You're just like interposing yourself between him and the stairs. And
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Just be like, you keep yourself very trim, honey, for a man your age. you ever visited New York at all?
Whatever part of Mr. Wilkes might want to have responded to your charms is seems to have to no longer be working. So he's kind of trying to look past you and excuse me, but you're sort of physically blocking him. So
Mr.
in the
Wayne,
end,
we gotta go.
Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Wait, you told him what?
Shut up. I said what I had to. We gotta get going.
Okay. Well, I guess I might. If I just make for a break for the front door, out of feigned embarrassment.
yeah.
Like a legitimate shit and run.
I will, as he does, I will follow after. Going, Mr. Wayne, I've seen worse. You get back here.
If I'm outside, then that gives you all a reason to also be outside.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So I think Jeffrey's going to start making our excuses at this point and say, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Wilkes. What are we thinking? Coming in here and messing up your lovely wash closet, and Mr. Baudelaire's not even here. I think we're just going to go to his studio. I think that's probably for the best, don't you?
Very, very well. I mean, you might possibly miss him. He tends to come home around 6 o'clock, but
If
I'll let him know you called.
Yes, please. And here's a calling card, and I would like to give him a fake calling card with a fake name on it.
Yeah,
Oh,
boy.
okay. What name is on it? Or is it just
John.
Can I argue that I put in a rival artist name on it?
Ooh.
Yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, no, that's
Betty
fine.
LaRue.
I think you can do that. Sounds cool. So yeah, you give him this card and he looks down at it and blinks once or twice and yes, I will pass it on to Mr. Baudelaire. I hope your friend recovers. Good day
that's
to you.
very, very kind. Thank you.
He's survived worse. Good day.
I'll be making loud noises about Colombian blend that really does not agree.
Cool. Yeah,
Cool.
we're out of there.
All right. So you all make your excuses and get out of Baudelaire's home with that undetected,
Yay.
with a couple of possible leads in tow, and you pile back into. I guess you flag down another cab and Walter drives off in his flashy one. Are you heading to? Are you going to examine what you've got first, or are you going to head to Baudelaire's workshop?
I mean, if we could always like reconvene at that coffee shop again, compare notes, and then strike out because Are we gonna have to break into the museum?
Yeah.
I think we're going to wait till the evening until he's left, and then probably break in. Yeah.
So
I mean,
Alan has given you a key to the museum itself.
Ah.
I've got a lifetime pass anyway, so.
But
An after hours.
you might have to break into the workshop itself because Baudelaire's changed the locks there.
Right. But yeah, shall we have a look at our spoils?
Yeah.
Ill-gotten gains.
Let's rendezvous at the coffee shop and then we'll discuss.
Okay.
So as you guys make your escape from the Baudelaire house with your ill-gotten gains safely stowed away, we will call it there, and we will pick this up again next time.
Awesome.
Hey,
This
see you there, honey.
So that's not going to bite us in the ass.
This Lovecraftian horror ain't too bad.
Fine so far.
Yeah, it's fine. It's got no teeth at all.
Oh,
Cool.
Amazing.
See you at the next one.
Yeah.
see you later.